Gazing at the hydroelectric plant, the manufacturing process of giant square threaded screws, it is truly surprising to discover why top-tier craftsmanship always outshines industrial standards. Just a single thread on a piece of iron requires 2 rounds of forging, plus 10 kilograms of alloy steel input. The moment the finished product emerges, that giant bolt, sparkling with a mirror-like finish, will absolutely leave you in awe. It is just past 7:00 a.m. Mieko arrives at the company right on time and heads straight into the workshop to discuss today's procurement requirements with the manager. Mieko, single for many years, is the company's dedicated purchaser. The vast majority of material intake and output are managed directly through her. For instance, the screws to be made today use a material called SCM435, a high-grade alloy steel, because it contains a significant amount of carbon. Those in the industry habitually call it carbon steel. First, an overhead crane lifts the steel billets onto the conveyor belt. Once all materials are fully positioned, the Mitsubishi control panel is pressed. This cuts the initial 5-meter-long steel rods into segments roughly 40 centimeters in length. As the steel rods first emerge, workers verify their quality. Only after the actual dimensions are fully calibrated will the subsequent rods be cut automatically. By then, there is no need to manually monitor the cooling process one by one. The subsequent batches of steel will be transported by forklift to the workshop next door. It is not a large space, covering only about 150 square meters, but one can tell by the forging tools hanging on the asbestos walls. This is a professional plant. The cylindrical steel bars arranged on the workbench definitely serve a critical purpose, and exactly as you might expect. These are marked metal forging molds. The worker selects 2 molds marked with the symbol 60 and places them directly into the power hammer. The bottom numbers indicate the diameter of the forging tool, and different diameters yield different exterior shapes. For example, the first item to be made today is actually a square threaded bolt, but he does not immediately clamp the steel rod directly. Instead, he takes that iron piece covered in oxide scale and feeds it into the electric furnace. If you look at its diameter alone, it might only be about 2 centimeters. The process is incredibly fast. Within 10 seconds, it is glowing red hot. Next, he uses the tongs to place it directly into the mold. Crucially, he spends quite some time positioning it, carefully selecting the perfect spot. An outsider might think he is just playing around, but that is far from the truth. The reason why the worker centers the steel batch in the mold is primarily to preheat the power hammer's dies. Don't let the tediousness fool you. This wait lasts precisely 20 minutes, but that 20-minute window keeps everything balanced, directly preventing uneven thermal expansion, which could otherwise lead to cracks. You need to realize this alloy steel is not just hard. The key is that it is tougher than standard carbon steel. That is why, after the forge, the secondary temperature becomes a non-negotiable topic for us. 180 degrees per unit. Business cannot exceed the government limit of 20 degrees. That is the threshold set for the workshop. The absolute maximum temperature is 1,250 degrees. Once you cross this range, you risk overheating, which spells disaster. In high-grade manufacturing processes, this is strictly forbidden. Next, use the tool to blow the oxidation scale off the surface. With every strike of the power hammer, the steel bar constantly generates an oxide layer. If not cleaned immediately, it is easy for residue to remain when applying pressure again without cleaning. Precision naturally drops. So, look at the air hose in his hand. It has not stopped once. So when exactly is it considered basically qualified? Just watch when he uses his left hand to move the part out from the inside. That means this round of forging can come to an end. Each piece weighs nearly 20 to 30 pounds. No one would find it easy to handle. Luckily, he managed to pull it out. How can we ensure quality then? The forged piece reaches the workshop. Requirements are strict, and they are met. Oil-filled caliper, a caliper longer than a human leg. Actually, it is not just the large screws. They are also crafting another one. A bolt that looks even more peculiar. This thing is barely 40 centimeters long. And it is not hexagonal nor square. It is surprisingly a round head. Same routine as always. First, heat it up to 1,200 degrees. Then have one person pull it out with tongs. Since the heating range for this exceeds half, the 2 people on the station must coordinate operations, meaning the one holding the steel only focuses on that, not the rotation. Conversely, the person on the side doing the forging does not have to bear the heavy lifting. The strange part is, their salaries are exactly the same. Would you rather rest for 3 minutes every cycle, or spend 1 minute keeping your foot on the switch constantly? Unlike the previous ones, every batch of steel here must be measured separately. Moreover, the person nearby has to keep a logbook. Let me briefly describe it to everyone. 10, 15. A steel batch is produced in collaboration with someone. Then at 10:25, another one is minted. It is unclear why they need such records, but they do it diligently nonetheless, leaving it for the workshop's next technician to polish, to give the screws a good appearance. This is an essential step. First, load a certain amount of cooling liquid into the polisher. Once the height matches the equipment level, you can lock the iron door. Then, from the side where Mieko walks in, start the polishing machine. The process is quite straightforward. Just push forward and press the button. But if you run out of abrasive grit, you need to remember to keep feeding it in. Actually, this stuff, it is just like 5mm steel shots that have not reached their full diameter yet. They are perfectly clear before use, but turn completely into washing grit afterward. In short, it is basically a single-use consumable, but the result is, to say the least, eye-catching. Take the steel casing covered in oxide layers earlier. It was barely recognizable. Who would have thought that after one round of polishing, it would turn out so pristine? Not a single flaw to be found. Even the corners, when zoomed in for a close-up, are absolutely perfect. This is perhaps the ultimate purpose of precision machining. In the blink of an eye, the forklift operator has transported the batch to the third workshop. We can consider this the stage before CNC, because if the workshop wants to keep the bolt diameter within a specific tolerance, they must drill a positioning hole in the center. This allows the side plate to be fitted onto the square bolt head, enabling a more flexible setup. Let us take a look at the next sequence, and you will understand exactly what I mean. On the right is the slot where the internal positioning shaft is inserted, and then it cuts while rotating. The safety door opens once again. The bolt diameter inside has actually been reduced to 1/5 of its original size. This is a change visible to the naked eye. Though it feels like a split-second task, it actually took a hard 10 minutes. Fortunately, the shop floor does not pay by the button. It calculates everyone's wage based on output. So, tells me, why would an operator put the steel batch into the card slot again? This is precisely the detail you won't see in other processes. First, the current operation is called tapping, which simply means adding internal threads to the inside of the bolt. When the large bolt is screwed into the device, you can add a smaller screw on top. Along with the main large bolt, a double layer of protection is not it. Even if it vibrates loose, the smaller nut comes off first, buying enough time for the safety inspector to address any underlying hazards. Next, use a grinder to smooth down the edges, a task that falls under attention to detail. After all, it does not add much to the structural strength. So, how is this smooth rod processed to ensure uniform external threads? To be precise, it is done using thread rollers. These wheels are covered with evenly spaced patterns whenever a steel rod passes through them. Clear impressions are rolled onto the surface, but this piece is quite heavy, each one weighing 40 to 50 kilograms. This forces the operator to use a hoist to slowly feed it into the internal shaft. But that is not the main part. Like the thread rolling dies used for specialized archery equipment, we are talking at least 100 kilograms. The most fascinating part is how the thread rolling process works. You just need to place the steel rod in the center, and the rollers on both sides will exert continuous pressure inward. A nut is a specialized inspection tool used to check the thread quality. As long as you do not see any jamming during rotation, then it complies with the standards. Essentially, as long as everything runs according to protocol. Defects are minimal or non-existent. Let the operators do the calculation. Let us see how many seconds one rotation takes. First, align the raised parts of the steel rod into the center of the thread rolling dies. Once both sides tighten, the steel rod inside will instantly be cold, formed into threads, creating something from nothing. That took roughly 8 seconds. Furthermore, regardless of the steel rod size, the thread rolling time is basically constant. If there is one minor difference, I suppose thinner materials roll faster. And what about the fine details? Can such delicate details meet our requirements? Especially when we put it under the microscope, everything becomes much clearer. So, what is Mieko doing at this moment? Her task today is to coordinate the material consumption ratio between departments. Over the past few years, Mieko has gained significant experience. Therefore, her arrangements have earned the utmost respect from the veteran masters. When it actually gets here, this SCM 435 steel is ready for immediate use. But the workshop does not do that. Instead, they mount it onto a frame, using a higher temperature to lock the internal structure. In layman's terms, this is called heat treatment, because the previously compressed steel retains significant internal stress. Only by heating it can that stress be released. The subtle warping that is invisible to the eye can reach its maximum point. You could even fit a finger through it. At this point, the worker marks 5 points at 10-centimeter intervals. These markings are the exact spots where pressure will be applied. Remember, you cannot press too quickly. You must gradually correct it at these 5 points. Because in the end, we need it to become a usable bolt, not a crooked walking stick. One more thing, the potential warping by fire is not absolute. Some batches might be flawless. Finally, clean off the black residue caused by the heat treatment. And it will fetch 5 times the market price overseas. Unless you are an industry insider, it is almost impossible to tell how many processes it went through.